This is the Tech Phantom, and I am your guide in the continuing series of the Chronicles of Conan in Lordran. Welcome to episode number 3. In the last episode, Conan freed Lautrec of Karim and had a confrontation with stone gargoyles who came back to life on the roof of the church. In this episode, we find Conan back in Firelink Shrine, and he has found Karim of Lautrec, who gives him the reward that he had been promised for freeing him, a sunlight medal, but then immediately makes a fatal mistake. He disrespects Conan. Conan, as a barbarian, is hot-tempered and challenges Lautrec to a duel to the death. Lautrec is an assassin, and he has very strange weapons meant to go through shields and go through heavy armor. Conan is not wearing any armor whatsoever and doesn't have a shield, so he must be very, very careful. The golden armor Lautrec uses his curved swords and his parrying dagger, but Conan, with his claymore, quickly defeats Lautrec of Karim. Apparently, Lautrec had some very special equipment. He had a ring that buffed him when he was low in life, and in addition to that, he had a ring that was given to him by his goddess Athena. Well, Conan thinks, "Chrome, you will not mind," and he puts on the ring of the goddess Athena. Immediately, he feels some strength and some vitality returning to him, but he is still pretty weak. Although outwardly he looks normal and he looks like he has all of his strength, internally he feels debilitated, although he does feel his strength and his power and his agility returning slowly, especially after using up the energy that he gets from some of the monsters and some of the bosses that live in this strange land.
Surprise.
Thanks to the Wizard of the Mounds,
Oh, somebody rang the bell.
Conan was transported to
Is
Lordran.
it you?
The wizard had told him that Tulsa Doom,
I don't know how you
after Conan had
Don't
decapitated
stop
him
now. Only one more.
in the real world, Tulsa Doom had come back to this surreal land to regain his power.
Don't you ever think to
Conan had come here looking for a final confrontation with Tulsa Doom. He struck up a conversation with the crestfallen warrior, who made some kind of a strange joke about
What's wrong?
blunt instruments.
Out there. No problem. Have a seat and get comfortable. We'll both be hollow before you know it.
Conan will let the crestfallen warrior live because he had been useful and he had given him hints
What are you
of what
going
to do
to
to
do?
proceed forward.
I've already decided. I don't
He had
really
found the
care.
bell that was up.
I'm
Now he needed to
simply
find the bell that was below,
crestfallen.
somewhere in the strange land, and he had to ring it,
Hmm?
and
What
that
now?
would
I'm not
cause
chatting.
an event to happen, a special event. At least that's what he could gather from his conversation with the crestfallen warrior. He had also heard rumors that in addition to the giant bull demon that he had defeated earlier, there was another demon in this area, but this one was a goat demon. It was a very, very fearsome goat demon that dual wielded gigantic machetes. Perhaps it was time to look for this goat demon to try to get some more energy so that he can continue to regain his strength. Andrea Bastora had also told him that it was possible to increase the power of his claymore by finding special stones and special embers. He had completed the first level of sharpening of his claymore, and now he needed to find a special ember so that he can increase the power and sharpen its edge even more. Conan found himself in an aqueduct. It looked like the way was barred and there was a door that was preventing his passage. He needed to find a way to open that door and to get around it. Conan continued up the parish. He looted bodies on his way. You never know what kind of equipment or what kind of item could come in handy in this surreal, crazy land of Lordran. Now that he had regained his strength and he had sharpened his claymore, the hollows in this area were no match for Conan. Apparently, this land also was inhabited by dragons. There was a giant red dragon that briefly blocked the way, but allowed Conan to get through. Conan finally found a friendly adobe where he could build a fire and he could rest before continuing his travels. In this magical land, every time Conan rested, all of the hollows and all of the monsters that he had dispatched would come back to life. This was no doubt a twisted and sick magic from that evil Tulsa Doom to try to prevent Conan from finding him. His father had told him about fire and about lightning. His father had also told him that Chrome was his god and that he should be afraid and very wary of magic. Conan did not like magic, but he learned about fire and he learned about lightning and lightning sparks when his father taught him how to use the hammer and use the fires to make swords. Conan found a gold pine resin, which was a special item that could imbue his weapon with lightning. He needed to find a similar item that would allow him to imbue his weapon with fire as well. But he would never even think about enchanting his sword with magic. Lightning and fire he understood. Magic he did not understand and he despised. As he continued forward, he found the Black Knight with very, very strong armor and very strong equipment. This Black Knight, he challenged the Black Knight to a duel which he won. The Black Knight was guarding a ring, and Conan also looted the Black Knight sword from the Black Knight. This was a very high quality weapon. It was very heavy, it was very strong, and it had a nice sharp edge. But Conan was still not strong enough to wield it. It just did not feel good in his hands. and he returned back to his claymore. The Black Knight's sword was a fine weapon indeed, but the claymore was an even better weapon, especially once he he would he was able to return it to its full sharpness. Conan proceeded forward and he found an underground level, a lower level. This might be the place where the giant goat demon might have residence. He had purchased a key from the undead merchant, and behind one of the doors, he found a captured magician. And normally he wouldn't help magicians, but this one struck his fancy. Maybe because of his strange outfit.
I am Griggs of Vinheim,
At any rate,
sorcerer of the school.
Conan took pity on Griggs of Vinheim and freed him.
Thanks to you, I may now resume my travels. Oh, hello. I have my sorcery. Besides, I have an important task at hand.
Conan also found a set of clothes, a set of sorcerer clothes. He would never use those. He needed to find a good pair of hand wraps, and he needed to find a good helmet, preferably something with horns. That was the preferred type of armor of his people. The hand wraps protected you while you fought with the two-handed sword, and the helmet protected your head from arrow shots and also made you look more intimidating and fierce. Body armor was not necessary, thought Conan. Behind some of the doors in this lower level, there were obvious ambushes from small thieves. A curious group of people. They wielded bandit knives which cut very, very deep. So even though they looked small and not very powerful, their weapons could cut very deeply and could ignore a very painful and even fatal wound. There were also undead dogs, attack dogs in this area. The dogs had foul breath, and their canines, their teeth, almost like lizards, could poison you. Conan's primitive sense of direction told him that he was getting close to the shortcut and he would be able to open up the door that had at one point been blocking his path forward on the aqueduct. He could hear dripping of water. He was getting close. Finally, Conan had found the aqueduct, and he found an undead female merchant. She made her living trading goods and selling goods, but she was afraid of the monsters and the dwellers of this area, so she stayed locked behind doors in the aqueduct. She sold some good herbs. She sold purple moss and blooming purple moss. Conan's mother had taught him about medicines. And as a traveling mercenary, Conan knows the importance of being able to tend to your own wounds and being able to take care of status ailments without having to rely on remeditions, clerics, or mages. He had found the way back to Fireland Shrine. It was now time to take on the goat demon. He had passed the goat demon's dwelling on his way here. It was hidden by a large fog gate or fog door. He will rest for a bit at the bonfire, regain his strength, perhaps even increase his strength, and then take on the goat demon. Griggs of Vinheim was back in Firelink Shrine. Apparently he had been able to find his way out. Conan was now well rested. He had find the power to imbue his sword with lightning. The female merchant also had a special item that will let him imbue his sword with fire. Both of these were very powerful elements which Conan understood. He gathered up all his gold and went to see the female merchant with the plan of buying the fire item from her. She was pushing her moss pretty hard, but Conan had already bought the herbs. He needed the charcoal pine resin now. His father had told him that lightning was more powerful than fire, and that's because lightning can create fire. He only had a limited number of lightning enchants left. He was thinking about using one to take on the goat demon. He was hoping that it would help with this encounter, with this fight. As he approached the fog gate, he thought about what he would find behind the door. He could hear barking of dogs. Maybe there were some dogs behind the gate. He would have to be careful. With his sword imbued in lightning, he went through the gate, and sure enough, there were two undead dogs that ambushed them, biting deeply and causing deep wounds. Not only did he have to take on the goat demon, the capper demon, but he also had to take on these undead attack dogs. They would have to go first. The capper demon was relentless. Whenever Conan tried to take a respite or heal, the capper demon would lunge at him with his giant machetes. Chrome took pity on Conan and let him live after he was hit straight on with a strong attack from the capper demon. But Chrome, being the merciless god, took away Conan's lightning enchant, and in exchange for letting him live, Conan now had to take on the goat demon without the power of lightning on his sword. The goat demon was very powerful but slow. Conan was able to time his attacks in between the lunges and the Capra Demon's attacks. And he finished it with a magnificent jumping, plunging attack on the Capra Demon. He looted the Capra Demon's Demon Great Machete, a gigantic piece of steel. Not really what you would call a fine weapon. It was so heavy that at this point, without all his strength back, Conan couldn't even swing it. The Claymore was a much finer weapon. The Claymore was a weapon for swords masters. The Demon Great Machete was a weapon for beasts and orcs. It didn't require much finesse or much training. Conan proceeded forward. He could smell a foul stench coming from the depths. The stench reminded him of the Temple of Set, where the followers of Tulsa Doom cannibalized other humans. He was getting closer to Tulsa Doom. He could sense it. He remembered the smell from the Temple of Set, from the cannibals. Now that he had used the lightning charge, it was time to use the fire charge. There was an ambush of several hollows, but these were not going to be a match to Conan and his fiery sword. However, he could see a butcher preparing a meal, a disgusting meal. He would try to finish this butcher, but Kurm would not have it, and Conan had suffered his first death. He will have to go back and talk to the Wizard of the Mounts, and the wizard will have to return him to this land once again.